The Kano market buzzed with life, but for Grace, it was another day of survival. She stood near a fruit stall, her 6-month-old daughter, Lily, strapped to her back with a worn wrapper. Rain drizzled, soaking her faded dress and torn slippers. Lily fussed, hungry and cold. Grace held out her hand to passers-by, her voice low. "Please help me. Just something for my baby." Most ignored her. Some muttered, "She's just pretending." Grace overheard but stayed quiet, rocking Lily. She hadn't eaten since yesterday, and her stomach ached, but Lily's weak cries hurt her more. Inside a sleek black SUV stuck in market traffic, billionaire James Carter glanced out. His eyes landed on Grace, tired, wet, clutching her baby. Something stirred in him. This wasn't just another beggar. This was real pain. James leaned forward. "Stop the car," he told his driver, Michael. The driver hesitated. "Sir, just stop." James stepped out, his polished shoes hitting the wet ground. His suit jacket darkened in the rain, but he didn't care. He approached Grace. She didn't notice him at first, focused on Lily. "Good morning," James said softly. Grace looked up, startled. A tall man in a suit stood before her, his face calm but serious. "What's her name?" he asked, nodding at the baby. "Lily," Grace whispered. "Has she eaten?" Grace shook her head. "Not since yesterday, sir." James frowned. "And you?" "I'm fine, sir. I just need food for her." He paused, then said, "Come with me." Grace froze, unsure. His eyes were kind, so she nodded and followed him to the SUV. James directed Michael to a nearby eatery. Inside, he ordered jollof rice, beans, chicken, and warm milk for Lily. Grace sat stiffly, holding Lily, afraid to touch the table. When the food arrived, she looked at James. "Can I eat here, sir?" "Yes, eat," he said. Grace fed Lily the milk first, then ate slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. James watched silently. When she finished, he leaned forward. "What happened to you, Grace?" She hesitated, then spoke. "My parents died when I was young. I grew up in an orphanage in Zaria. I worked as a cleaner, but then I met David. He was a Danfo driver. He promised to marry me, but when I got pregnant, he left. I don't know where he is. I lost my job, my room. Now it's just me and Lily on the street." James nodded, his face unreadable. James pulled out a business card and handed it to Grace. "Call me in 3 hours. I'll help you and Lily find a safe place." Grace took it, her hands trembling. "Thank you, sir." She didn't mention she had no phone. James left for his meeting, already late. Grace tucked the card into Lily's wrapper and took a bus back to the market. She sat under a shop's shade, planning to borrow a phone later. But when she checked for the card, it was gone. Panic hit her. She searched Lily's clothes, her wrapper, nothing. Tears fell. "God, why?" she whispered. She didn't know the card had slipped out at the eatery, now lying on the wet ground. At noon, James checked his phone. No call. He frowned. Why hasn't she called? He wondered if Grace was just another scammer, but her tired eyes and Lily's weak cries felt real. Meanwhile, Grace sat in the market, hopeless. She decided to return to the eatery. Maybe the card was there. She took a bus, praying. At the same time, James returned to the eatery, searching for her. He spotted his card on the ground, wet but readable. His heart sank. Did she toss it? Or lose it? He sat at their table, ordered food, and stared at the card. As he left, Grace arrived, just missing him. She checked the table, asked the staff. "No card, madam," they said. Grace walked away, crying, holding Lily. That evening, Grace slept in an uncompleted building, Lily on a pile of old clothes. She whispered, "I'll go back to that spot tomorrow. Maybe he'll pass again." The next morning, she stood at the same market corner, watching every black SUV. James, at home, welcomed his sister, Sarah, back from London. Laughter filled his mansion, but his driver, Michael, looked uneasy. On the way from the airport, he'd seen Grace again, standing with Lily. He waited for a moment alone with James. "Sir, I saw the woman from yesterday. Same spot, with her baby." James paused. "Go back. If she's there, ask why she didn't call. If she's genuine, bring her here." Michael nodded and drove off. Grace was about to leave, exhausted, when Michael's red SUV pulled up. "Madam," he called. Grace turned, her heart racing. "I lost the card, sir," she blurted, tears falling. "I looked everywhere." Michael saw her pain and believed her. "Come with me." She climbed in, holding Lily. They arrived at James's mansion. Grace stepped out, nervous. James met her in the living room, where Sarah and guests sat. He stopped her from kneeling. "Don't do that. He led her to a guest room. Bath rest. Food's coming. Later, with Sarah and Grace in the living room, James asked about the card. Grace explained her broken phone and the lost card. James nodded. I'll help you start over. Think of a business you'd like. You'll stay here until we find you a place. Days later, James took Grace and Lily shopping for clothes and a new phone. He restored her old number. Sarah joined them to see an apartment. This is yours, Sarah said, handing Grace a key. And we're setting up a provision store for you. You'll learn to run it. Grace cried, overwhelmed. Weeks later, at her store, Grace got a call from David's sister, Mary. David died in an accident after he left you, Mary said. His mother wants to meet Lily. Grace promised to bring her. With closure, she smiled, managing her store. James and Sarah visited, proud. Grace's life had changed, not just by money, but by kindness that saw her pain and acted. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, comment, subscribe, and share for more videos.